Hello everyone, welcome to our wonderful virtual event with Helen Gambarota, and she is a fantastic book blogger, and this event is all about books to bring you joy, and don't we all need that? So Patsy and myself are here with Helen to have a chat with you about all about books. So Helen, do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself? And how you got into doing what you do currently.
Thank you. Thank you so much for inviting me as well to do this. So I have always been a massive reader. Books have just been my love throughout my life. And about 3 years ago, I basically stumbled completely into Instagram and blogging. I'd read a book that I loved, and I went on to read some other reviews because I wanted to know what people were saying about it. But nothing was sort of satisfying my, I wanted to hear the talk as it was going on. And then I found Bookstagram and I wanted to get a piece of it. So I started my account as Best Book Forward on a complete whim. And I found my tribe. I found a group of book lovers who just share book chat, what we're reading, what we love, our obsession with collecting books that don't get read and just get piled around the house. And yeah, I think I probably, at the time that I started it, like a lot of women, my children were 5, and I was at that sort of point of, am I going to go back to work, or what am I going to do? And I really wanted to find something that was for me and gave me a voice that was about me and not about the kids or the husbands or anything. So yeah, it felt like a really good fit, and I absolutely love it.
Do you find that over time that it's changed in terms of people's love of books? Because obviously you do loads on Instagram, and if you don't follow Helen already, you definitely should, because she shares lots of amazing insights and books to read. But have you found it's taken off massively in the last few years?
Yes. When I first
certainly, would you say, Helen, it's certainly in lockdown, have you seen a rise in new followers?
Yeah, definitely. And a different type of chat. I think when I first started it, I didn't tell anyone that I was actually doing it. My husband didn't know, my best friends didn't know. So I was a kind of secret blogger for a while. And then my husband was like, what are you always doing on your phone? And then I told him, and it started to grow very quickly. And I think one of the things I didn't think I'd be somebody who'd get into social media, and I was kind of worried about, the people that would be there, but it's so friendly. And yeah, it has grown, and I've definitely seen the difference between the 2 lockdowns. The first one, I think, yes, lots of people were sort of trying to come back to reading who maybe hadn't read anything since they'd been studying. This time I'm starting to get a lot of message from people saying that they're a bit over Netflix, they can't do another box set. But that's probably also, autumn is a nice time to sort of curl up with a book, isn't it? And sort of the evenings are dark. It's a really cozy thing to do, isn't it? To sit down and read a proper book.
I think you're right, actually. It's a very good point, is that, in the summer, especially this year, we were all out and about on our nature walks and doing wonderful things with the gorgeous weather. But as you say, this time round, I mean, we're recording this in November when we're in the middle of lockdown in the UK, and there isn't the weather really to go and do exciting picnics in the middle of the woods necessarily. So
it's 5 o'clock, doesn't it? So,
and it gets dark. You're right, Patsy. It gets dark so early. So in reality, and have you found that your taste has changed massively with books since you've been obviously endeavouring to do this more and more?
Totally. I mean, I've started to do on Instagram. It was an idea that I sort of had ages ago, and I wasn't sure whether I wanted to do it, but I started to do like desert island books. So like the desert island discs thing. So rather than the music that shaped your life, I started to look at the books that have shaped my life. And I'm starting to invite people to come and talk to me about their books as well. But when I sort of sat back and looked through, I could see when different genres, I first picked them up and sort of fell in love with them. And yeah, I mean, I think that the thing with Instagram, there are books that I probably wouldn't have picked up if I hadn't seen it and it hadn't come from somebody who I knew and I trusted their reviews. So, but also I used to think if you started a book, you had to finish it, regardless whether you were enjoying it or not. So I would just plow through books if I wasn't enjoying it. Whereas now I think I give books a chance. If they're not write, I put them away and then I'll try them again later. But one that sticks out for me, I remember reading years ago, In Cold Blood by Truman Capote. And I felt like I had to read it all. And it's so harrowing that it still sort of haunts me today. There's still sort of lines from that book that I just sort of read and think, oh, I can't bear that. If I were in that situation now, I think, not for me. It's okay to put it down and try something new. So I don't think you should sort of force yourself to read things for the sake of it.
Have you found, I mean, especially you talk about life stage and books. I mean, it's probably the same, you know, obviously this year particularly is a complete roller coaster. But have you found that when you talk to people about books, that there's certain genres that people absolutely love and find it quite hard to kind of move on from that particular, you know, genre into something else? So whether that be, you know, they absolutely love, you know, detective and that whole sort of adventure, and they find it hard to read anything that's sort of romantic literature. Are people quite stuck, do you think, in terms of what they like to read?
I think so. And I mean, one of the books I'm going to recommend later is one that I would never have dreamed of picking up, and it's a fantasy book, which has led me to sort of look at other ones that I would go to. I think one of the ones that is historical fiction. I think people sort of think it's a bit drab, but it can be amazing. It's actually one of my favourite genres. I absolutely love really good historical fiction. So I think that's probably the one that would stick out for me, that I'd love people. And actually memoirs, non-fiction. I think, again, people can think it's a bit dry or a bit boring, but if you read a really brilliant memoir, and there's some amazing ones, particularly from incredible women at the moment, that I do bang on about them on Instagram, because I would love people to pick them up and share their stories. So
I think actually it can happen in reverse, can't it? Because I know from a personal point of view, I got a bit stuck in autobiographies for a while, and biographies, because they're a bit easier to read in some ways, or pick up and put down, aren't they? So you can kind of get stuck in that genre as well, and not kind of go into back into fiction again, because it's, you know, it's especially descriptive fiction. It sort of requires quite a lot from your brain sometimes, isn't it, to sort of switch off. Do you think when you become a parent, do you think your tastes change? Personally, I know that happened for me, but
yeah, definitely. I mean, when I was looking back at my books, I was like, that's really, I was like, why was there no books in my 30s? What was going on there? There's no book in my 30s that really stuck out, apart from one, which I think books should be treated with respect. But this is one book that I did throw across the room, and it was a Gina Ford book of twins. I was just like...
Because you've got twins, haven't you? You've got twins. Yeah.
I have, and that just blew my mind. And I was like, no. But I just didn't read in the early days, but I think, yeah, first time round, I had no clue what I was doing, and you know, any brain power I had was trying to sort of make sure I was feeding them and doing the right thing. So, but now I find there are some books, you know, if there's anything that affects children, I find it harder to read. If it's a bit sad, then I sort of approach with caution with those ones. But yeah, I think I'm more emotional. So I think if I'm reading anything more emotional, I'm more likely to cry from it, from a book.
Yeah, I think we all are. We're more likely as mums to cry at things that, you know, have sensitive subjects as well. Definitely.
I find it impossible to read anything that is, I mean, I find this a lot with dramas on the telly as well, that if it's anything to do with children, something happening to them, I cannot watch it. I cannot. And it's the same with books. So many books are about abductions or something like that, and I find it impossible to read that. But I know some people really don't, you know, and they absolutely love the mystery around it and everything. Helen, I wanted to ask you, why do you think books are so important in our lives? Like, why should we treasure them? For someone that's a real ambassador for books and for novels and the narrative, for you, why do you think it's, you know, so key to our lives?
I think if you ask most people when they're little, they will have a story of their mum reading something to them, something they remember from their childhood. For me, it's The Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe. I remember reading that with my mum and just being completely mesmerised by it, and it signed me up for life. But I think stories are really important to us because they connect people, and particularly at the moment where we're not together as we would be, I think that's why people are craving that sort of, you know, the really good gripping stories. And the community. So whether it's your book club or if you're on Bookstagram or even chatting in your in the bookshop, you know, I think that's what really brings people. When people love a book, they really love it, and it stays with them for a lot longer, I think, than, you know, a movie or a TV series. It just becomes part of you.
Do you think there's something in the escapism of that? I mean, there's a lot going on, isn't there? There's one part, it's just where we are with this year and the emotion of that and escaping that. But I guess the other part is just the always on, the noisy culture that we live in now, and the kind of the fact that everything's on our phone and we can check everything all the time and everyone can get to us. Is there something in that in terms of escaping all of that loud noise?
I think so. I mean, I very, very rarely watch TV, and one of the things sort of this year that I've got into the habit of doing is watching too much, particularly of news. And I've noticed that it has affected me. It's affected my sleep. If I'm reading, my phone's not there. I am with my book, and that's it. But if I watch, like my husband watching TV, he will have his phone and he's doing like bits and pieces. But I think you do escape. And I often say, like, my husband will be like, you buy more books? And I was like, yeah, it's another adventure I haven't been on yet, or it's a place I haven't been to, it's a character I haven't met. And for me, it's just piles of worlds that I can go to when I want. It's just
Use your own imagination as well, can't you, with a book? It's completely different to watching a film or movie or whatever. And that's what I love about reading, really. I just wanted to ask you, because obviously you read prolifically, as we know, Helen. What are your tips for anyone that's listening that think, actually, I want to get into reading more books, but is there a method that you use, or is a certain time of day that you set yourself times to read, really?
I think for me, before bed, I could not sit down and watch TV or a movie before bed because I would be up all night sort of whirring around. So for me, I can get into bed and read and read and read, and I will sleep better for it. What would I read wherever, and I actually sometimes will sort of be a bit naughty and I'll say I'm folding clothes, but actually I've got a book on the basket.
Love it. Yeah.
Basically, dotted everywhere, all over the house, there's little piles of books.
Yeah, everywhere. But I think pick up, and don't think you. I see a lot on Instagram at the moment, people thinking books that they think they should read because they're being talked about a lot. And if they intimidate you, then don't. Pick up something that you will. I had a lady who contacted me a while ago, and she said she'd never read. She hadn't read a book since she was at school, and she only read sort of gossip magazines. And she's like, I really want to read a proper book. And we sort of looked through things, and I got her reading a non-fiction, and it took her a long time to get through it, but she was so happy that she did. And she was like, she just didn't know where to start. I think just pick up anything. It doesn't matter. Even children's books, you know, I read some YA books, and they're really nice to sort of, because they're a bit gentler, or just whatever you find, pick it up and try it.
I guess one of the tips from what you're saying as well is just to turn the telly off occasionally and actually read. Maybe that's, you know, and we're not massive prolific TV watchers in our house either, but I find that the time that maybe we're not watching telly, I might be on my phone. So actually it's kind of putting that in a drawer and actually spending 2 nights a week perhaps reading, as opposed to anything else, because it can take you, because I think we wanted to do this so much because we love you and what you do in terms of your books, and books that bring you joy. You know, we're all about joy. That's what we strive to do massively in our club and everything. And there's lots of different parts of our lives that bring us joy, aren't there? And I think the books can give you that lift and that escape, and it's reminding people a little bit, isn't it, that why books are so wonderful. Before we move on to your recommendations, I just wanted to ask you a little bit about sort of reading from a book and Kindles and that kind of thing. What's your favourite? Are you old school or are you Kindle-tastic?
Totally old school. Every year my husband says he's going to buy me a Kindle for Christmas. I'm like, don't. So I love everything about the actual book. And I think, you know, the covers and the feel of them and sort of picking it up. It's like, it's not the same. Like I scroll through my phone and I enjoy it. But
I'm old school as well. How about you, Lizzie? You old school?
I'm definitely old school. I think because of my background's quite creative from advertising things, there's so much work and beauty that goes into those covers and the copy that's written about the author and the narrative. I just think there's something joyous, but maybe because we're in our, I'm in my 40s and I'm just like, that's what we were used to and we love it.
Yeah, definitely. I'm definitely old school.
Yeah.
There's just nothing like picking up a brand new book, and especially if it's a hardcover as well, with the illustration on the front, and you can smell, can't you? You smell a new book. It's just that feel, it's tactile.
Yeah.
There's just something special about it.
And I think with hardback as well is I always have to have like a little peek at them naked, take like the dust jacket off.
Yeah, I love doing that. Yeah.
So exciting. It's like I'm getting a gift each time. I love it.
I used to always tell people when it says a lot about my personality. I don't do this now, but I always, when I read a novel story, I always used to read the last page, and because I was too impatient to wait. So I don't do it anymore. I think I'm a little bit more chilled in my later years, but I wanted to find out what had happened, and it'd only be halfway through and then I think, oh, I know, that's who that is, and I've ruined it for myself. But I was too impatient to get to the end of what I wanted to know now, so I don't do that anymore because that's not good.
You are naughty, Lizzie.
I do have that side to me, I must admit. I definitely do. Right, Helen, let's get on with your recommendations. I can't wait. So you've got 6 books for us, haven't you? So we've got 4 fiction and 2 non-fiction, which get your pens and papers out and write these down and get ordering, because I think Christmas is coming, that Christmas break. And even though it's manic and a bit busy, hopefully it won't be as manic as normal years in terms of people. This might be a really good way for you to unwind and bring yourself some joy in your life. So what is number 1, Helen? What do you recommend?
This is probably, I always sort of approach with caution on this, but going to be in my top 10. Obviously, I've got a few more books to read this year, but I think this will be in my top 10 reads for this year. This is Miss Benson's Beetle by Rachel Joyce. And I love her books. She had 2 of her others, The Unlikely Pilgrimage of Harold Fry and A Love Song of Miss Queenie Hennessy, which are both really, really lovely stories. But I think this is her best one so far. It's so lovely. It's a story set in the 1950s. It's a woman named Marjorie who discovers that her life is just dead end and she's bored. And she remembers that when she was a child, she had this dream of discovering this rare beetle. So she packs it all in and she hires a very unlikely assistant named Enid, and they go schlepping off to the other side of the world in search of their beetle. And it's a really beautiful, it's very charming, very funny, little sad in places, but it's a story of female friendships and loyalty and following your dreams. And this is one of those books where I was reading it, I wanted to sort of devour it, but I needed to savor it because I never wanted it to end because I felt so connected to the 2 women. When I did get to the end, there's a line at the end that I went and copied onto a post-it note and stuck it on my bathroom mirror, which I can't tell you what it is, but Rachel Joyce commented back to me and she was saying that the book was leading up to that moment and it's a message that she wanted to share with women. And
Helen, that is wonderful. Oh my goodness, that is
We all want to read it now. That's the thing. We want to find out.
I was like, oh, I'm not sure I'm going to like a book about bugs, but it's not about bugs. It's about these women, and it's just her writing's very gentle and it's funny. Somebody said to me they thought it was a little bit like a sort of Thelma and Louise type book, but it's just beautiful. And yeah, I'd be surprised if it's not in my top 10 for the year.
And is right.
Sorry, I was going to say, but it's set in the 1950s, yeah?
Yes.
Yeah. That's great. So it's all the description of how travel was then and how the world's changed.
Yeah.
Is Rachel Joyce British? Is she a British writer?
Is she Irish actually or British? I can't say. But she won Harold Fry was shortlisted for the Commonwealth Book Prize.
Oh, wonderful.
For the Man Booker Prize. That was her The Unlikely Pilgrimage of Harold Fry. I
have heard of that one actually, and I think I think, do you pay attention to whether they win prizes or not? Like, what's your view of like the women's prize and things like that?
No, because I think that leads you into reading what you feel you should read. I'm a mood reader, so sometimes, like at the moment, I'm kind of in that sort of stage where my mind is busy and I'm struggling to get completely into a story. So I've got lots of things that I'm dipping in and out of. I'm actually reading a bit of poetry, reading a Christmas book, but no, I don't. And I think sometimes like you'll read something that's won a prize, and well, we all read the same book differently, don't we? We'll all have a different experience of these stories. So for some people, they will love it, and other people, it just doesn't sit with you. But that's a great thing, because it opens a debate about what makes it brilliant for you and not for me.
So what would you say is the prerequisite to make a good author for you personally?
Oh, well, actually, I've got two of my favourites. The next author is one of my favourites. They've got to be able to create a character. I don't have to like the character. I don't mind if they're unlikable, but I've got to believe in them and find that, it's about the character. I don't, just trying to think, because they're all so different. I just want to be in a story that I believe is real, and you can shock me, you can twist it around, you can make me laugh, you can make me cry, you can frighten me, but just make it believable for me.
Because I've been reading Girl, Woman, Other,
yes.
And I absolutely love it. I still haven't finished it. It's taking me forever, but that's only because I keep putting it down for like a few days and then go back to it. I know a couple of people that really struggled with it because they couldn't find a character that was likable in the book. And it didn't bother me so much that there wasn't a person that I could sort of emotionally engage with, because they are all quite difficult characters within that. But I thought that was interesting, that some people just really can't buy into a book if everyone is kind of slightly awful or has a part from this ideal.
Sometimes they are the character, you need that, don't you? You
need
that's going to annoy you or make you, because it's about feeling, and we're not always happy and we're not always sunshine. Like sometimes we're annoyed, or I think that's, I was the same with Girl, Woman, Other. It took me a long time to read it.
Good.
it took me a long time, and I thought it was a brilliant read. It's one I'm going to read again though, because I think I'd probably pick up more from it the second time.
Yeah, it's a fabulous book. It really is. What is number two? What's number two?
Number two is one of my favourites. Okay, so this is an author who I absolutely love. This is Daisy Jones and the Six by Taylor Jenkins Reid. Now she also wrote this. I love this cover. It's one of my favourite covers. The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. And what I love about her books is that she is so good at making you believe that several times, and several people have told me that they've been reading particularly these two books, they've had to go and Google because they're like, is this real? Are these characters real? Like, so Daisy Jones and the Six is set in the 70s, and Daisy Jones is this young, beautiful woman. She's a singer, and she walks on stage one night. She's barefoot, and a music producer hears her sing, and he decides to pair her up with a band called The Six, who are becoming quite famous. So her and the lead singer from The Six, a man called Billy, have this amazing chemistry, and they become very famous. And while they're writing what will become their legendary album Aurora, the band just suddenly falls apart, and nobody knows why until now. So it's this one is written as a series of interviews. I was lucky enough to meet Taylor Jenkins Reid last year, and I completely fangirled her and just did not stop asking her questions about it. But it's a series of interviews from the band members, from journalists, from music producers at the time. So when you're reading it, you feel like you're in a music documentary. It's so clever, and it's just an incredible piece of writing. She actually wrote the lyrics for all of the songs that they were in their album that doesn't exist. But what I think is brilliant about this one, and why it should be read now, is because Reese Witherspoon is making it into a TV series at the moment, which I think has been delayed because of coronavirus. But you should always read it before you watch it. But this book for me at the moment, so when I was speaking with Taylor Jenkins Reid, she said that she basically had to almost write each character's story and then sort of pull it all together. So it's a massive amount of work went into this. But she was talking about the music that inspired her to write it. And she has shared that playlist on Spotify. So you can listen to the music that inspired the book while reading it. And it's a lot of like Fleetwood Mac and Bruce Springsteen. I think music is another thing that really sort of helps you escape the craziness of the world right now. So this is one to really immerse yourself in.
I know, it's wonderful. Actually, saying that about playlists, there's a few new dramas that have come out that have actually created playlists for the characters. So I think that's quite a great thing to do, isn't it, when they produce these stories now, that they actually have music that's attached to it, because like you say, it's all escapism. That sounds fantastic, that book.
Yeah, it's so good. And I'm really torn because I keep thinking I can't wait to watch the TV series, but I loved some of the characters so much, I'm afraid they won't cast them the way I see them. So I don't know if I'll watch it or not.
I'm sure she'll do us proud.
Yeah.
She'll do a job, I'm sure.
She's done some amazing dramas, hasn't she?
All from books. She's a massive reader and she has her book club. So a lot of the ones that she's done, like Big Little Lies, was from Leanne Moriarty's book. So
See, I struggled with that because of the whole kid mum thing. I'm so oversensitive. I need to get over myself. I think I'm missing out.
You are.
What's number 3, Helen? What's third on your list?
3 is one I only read a week or so ago, and this was a Bookstagram made me do it by. It kept on popping up on my feed, and I was like, yeah, okay, I liked the cover. And this is one of those ones, like the inside, like the end pages are beautiful, and
look at that.
Yeah, I mean, that's a coffee table book, really, isn't it?
It really is. It really is. Yeah, so when I picked this one up, it was at a time when I think the world was notching the crazy up again. It was like the US elections, are we all not going into lockdown? And I was sort of feeling quite distracted. This one is historical fantasy, so I wasn't completely convinced by it. But once I started reading it, I fell into this book, and it's just such a great book to escape into. You will totally believe what's happening in here. And I almost sort of had to shrug when I stopped reading it to come back to life and sort of. And so this is a story. So this is called The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue by VA Schwab. That's how you pronounce her name, I'm not sure. So Addie LaRue, the book starts in France. I think it's 1714, the year. And Addie LaRue is about to face a big change in her life. And it's something that she really doesn't want to happen, but she can't see a way out. So she goes out into the night and she makes a deal with the darkness, and she basically sells her soul. And the deal that she strikes is that she will live forever, but be remembered by none. So she sort of flits in and out of people's lives. So as soon as they've not seen her for a few seconds, she's forgotten. 300 years later, she walks into a bookshop in New York and she meets a man called Henry who does remember her. And
wow.
Yeah, it's a really good
one. Story then.
It is.
I think it's fascinating, isn't it, that they're sort of they're so different, like the 3 that you talked about. But there's a female central character. Is that quite, is that, so for you, is that quite a tick, I suppose, in terms of?
Yeah, I mean, I noticed a while ago that I was reading a lot of books written by women about women. So I've really tried to sort of mix up and read more books by men. But I'm a mood reader, so I think I just go with what I'm in the mood for. I'm reading at the moment a story about Billy Wilder, which is written by a man, which I'm really enjoying. But yeah, these ones, they're all women. You're right.
I know, but I think that's wonderful, because I think personally, I'm sure Pat's the same. I think I'm the same. I think we're naturally drawn, unless it's a biography. I mean, I really enjoyed Elton John's biography last year. It came out last Christmas time, didn't it? That's a great romp of a read, actually. It's a real easy read, that one, because it's fascinating, or they're a historical character or something. But in terms of a narrative and a novel, I think perhaps we are drawn to our own, in the sense of emotional kind of connection.
Relatable in some way. It doesn't matter whether it's, like you say, it could be a historical drama or whatever it is, but there seems to be that definitely familiarization with a female character. I think I need that too. I can also relate to men as well, but you know, they are different, aren't they, to us at the end of the day?
I think men are the same, actually. I think if we did a sort of poll, I think men are drawn to novels that have men as a central character.
I have a lot of male followers that surprise me, and they will read a lot. I mean,
that's great.
Yeah, they will read a lot of these. But I think for men characters and male authors, the ones that are sticking in my head are David Nichols.
Oh yes. Oh gosh, yes.
And I'm very late to the Mike Gale party, but his books.
I haven't read any Mike Gale actually, but I have read obviously the One Day one.
Yeah, Mike Gale is like all his new one, All the Lonely People. It's about a male character, and that's fabulous actually. Yeah, those are the two that stick out for me. I think men that write good men.
Yeah, I know, and write everyone well, I suppose. They write great characters, which is perfect. What is number 4?
Okay, I know we're November, so it's a little early, but the world's crazy, and I think we can do Christmas now.
Well, I think everyone's thinking about doing Christmas early this year, aren't they? So why not?
Yeah, I'm reading actually. One of the books I've got on the go at the moment is a Christmas story. This is One Day in December by Josie Silver. When I read this one, it kind of had vibes of, do you remember the movie Serendipity? Very old.
Yes.
It had that sort of vibe to it, a little bit of Love Actually, sort of. I think it's okay to be cheesy if it's Christmas. I don't mind that.
Well, show us the front cover again, so in case people want to see. That's One Day in December by Josie Silver. So tell us the unforgettable love story.
Unforgettable love story. So this is, do you know, I'm just thinking actually there's a little bit of a similarity to Miss Benson. Again, it's a woman her life's not going the way she wants it to, and she's a bit stuck. One December, she's on the bus home and the windows are all misted up, and she looks out the window, and at the bus stop there's a man waiting, and they make eye contact, and something happens between the two of them, but they both hesitate. So as she's thinking, I'm going to get off the bus and talk to him, he's thinking, I'm going to get on the bus pulls away, and they don't get to meet. But she makes it her resolution that she will meet this man because she feels that she's fallen in love with him at first sight. And so a year later, it's December, and her best friend is about to introduce her to her new boyfriend, who she is very much in love with, who is, of course, the man at the bus stop.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
And then that's where you're going to leave us, Helen. You have to buy the book.
Spoiler, sorry, no spoilers here.
That's amazing. So yes, gosh, I love those sliding doors. Obviously, always one of our top films, isn't it? Like that's whole sort of and when did that come out? Is that a new book? It's been out a while.
It's been out a while, but whenever I recommend it to people, that they think it's very cheesy and they haven't picked it up, and it is, but it's a good cheese. So
an easy read.
It's an easy read, but it's yeah.
These are perfect books for book groups as well, aren't they? Because I find I'm in one, and I'm sure we all are. It's that there is a different people have different tastes, don't they? So it is good to pepper in one that sounds like the perfect read for sort of that time when you just need a bit of a chill, and maybe the kids are in bed, or perhaps you've had a busy day and you just kind of want to put your feet up by the fire and chill out.
It doesn't require too much from you. You can just be swept along with the story. You're not having to remember who's who. You know, it's not one of those ones where you have to be on your toes to sort of keep up with it. You can just be swept along.
I cannot wait to read these books. I don't know about you, Patsy. I'm just like,
there's a couple here that I'm earmarking that I quite fancy, actually.
Are they going on your Christmas list, Patsy?
Yeah, I think so. I definitely think so. And I want a hardback as well, not a paperback.
Yeah.
Do authors always, because it used to be you had to wait quite a long time for a paperback, I remember back in the day, or it seemed to feel like that, whereas how quick do they do a hardback to launch, and then, or does some go straight to paperback these days?
Paperback. I think it's been a really tough year for authors as well. I mean, I felt really bad for people.
There's someone at the door.
Oh.
Be back in a minute.
Carry on, Helen.
Yes, I think people who've had a book launched this year, particularly in lockdown, and especially people who are launching a debut novel, it's been really hard for them to sort of get their book out, because they haven't been able to do their author events. It's been really hard, but I think publishers have done an amazing job of doing like virtual events and trying to get them out, and the bookshops as well. I think bookshops have been complete stars for keeping people like me supplied.
Well, I know the literary festival, obviously the wonderful Henley Literary Festival and Harriet there. I mean, they've had great success, haven't they, with their virtual events, and be able to, if you think about it, there's real advantages, and we found this too, is that obviously, you know, you can get John Grisham from the States and just zoom him in, and actually that's joyous because he's never coming to Henley, you know. Well, he doesn't need to, does he?
Well, you can be anywhere in the world and can access all of this wonderful stuff, which is fantastic. I'm loving it, actually. I mean, we've got new joiners from all over the world, haven't we?
Yeah. There are advantages of virtual, and I think, like you say, people have been very clever about how they market books, but obviously people, especially with book tours and things like that, it's great PR, isn't it, for them to then promote themselves. So that's your 4 fiction books, which are fabulous. Thank you for those, Helen. And what have you got in the non-fiction, the kind of
okay, I'm staying with Christmas again. So this is Calm Christmas and a Happy New Year. This is a little book of festive joy by Beth Kempton. Now, I was sent this one, I think this one was published last year, and I read it last year and I was like, oh, this is lovely, but how is this going to really work? Because she talks about sort of reworking your Christmas traditions, and she says it's a guide to honouring this special season without sacrificing your well-being. So she sort of talks about how, you know, we do everything, we have everyone over, and like it tends to be the women who are doing all the work of like cooking, getting the presents and wrapping everything up. And I thought, that's lovely, but how would that really work if you turn around to certain family members and say, sorry, this year we're going to have a crisis. Well, then coronavirus came, and then we didn't really know what's going to happen at Christmas. So reading it again, I've been reading this the last couple of weeks, and it's very timely, actually. And some of the chapters are things like mindful gifting, and she talks about you know, things that we've given in the past that end up under the bed or on landfill. I think we certainly as a family have been very conscious of what we wasted, and the first lockdown, like particularly food wastage and things, we became really good at looking at that. But things like honouring the melancholy, savouring the hush, reflecting. It's a really nice sort of tiny book. I find if I'm struggling to read a novel, dipping in and out of books like this, I find really relaxing. And it's beautiful. She starts each chapter with a little poem as well. So it's a really lovely book, and I think there's some really good ideas in here to make. It's all about nourishing yourself and self-love and all the things we talk about at the moment.
That's lovely. That is a lovely book for all the times, isn't it? But especially obviously around Christmas.
Yeah, I think she does do another one of just general sort of like organising and things, but I think that actually it'd also be a really nice Christmas gift.
Yes, great stocking gift, isn't it, for those adult stockings. And what's the last one? What's the last one? I'm a bit gutted actually it's the last one. We'll have to do it. We'll do another one, Helen, with you. We'll do.
I could keep going and going and going. This is one of my absolute favourite books. I have given so many copies of this away. I think it's such a special book. It sits by my bed and I dip in and out of it, and it always lifts my mood. And I always get the title wrong. It's The Boy, the Mole, the Fox and the Horse by Charlie Mackesy. And this is, can you see? Sorry.
This has been massive, hasn't it?
It really deserves to be, because I mean, if you follow him on Instagram.
Yeah, I do.
Do you follow him?
Yeah, I do, yeah.
I think what he's done for spreading messages of positivity and hope and kindness at this sort of time is like, it's been really, I'm surprised he hasn't been picked up by more people and sort of celebrated for what he's doing, because I think his work is, I actually want one of his prints for Christmas, but I can't decide which one. So I keep going back. It's basically like a beautiful coffee table book, and you can read it sort of cover to cover or dip in and out, but they have like little pages. So this says, most of the old moles I know wish they had listened less to their fears and more to their dreams.
Yeah, lovely.
Oh, that's lovely.
And actually my children, so the twins will be 8 this month, and they love this book as well. They love sort of sitting and looking through. So often the hardest person to do is yourself. I just think it's like a little hug, this book. So if I'm just...
It's lovely. Do you know, that's a wonderful quote, actually.
Yeah.
Give yourself a little hug.
So many in here that is just, I mean, that's why I can't pick up what one I'd want, because I go, oh, I want that one, and I look down and go, no, I want this one.
Have them all.
Like a wall of Charlie prints.
Oh, they're gorgeous. They're gorgeous. If you had to pick one, which book would you? I'm going to ask you the Desert Island question.
That's really mean. That is really mean, because they're my children almost. You asked me to pick a favourite in front of them. They're right here.
Okay, maybe you're allowed two. So if you had to pick one from fiction and then one.
Charlie's book, I think that's amazing. See, because there's two of our authors that I love. It'd be between Daisy Jones and Miss Benson's Beetle.
Oh, fab. They all sound great.
Yeah. I can't.
Do you buy a lot of books as gifts?
I do. Yeah, I'm always giving gifts. If I love a book and sometimes I'll read a book and it will remind me of somebody or something that somebody's gone through, or I just think that it would help or make them feel happy, then I will give books to people. Yeah.
Oh, that's fabulous. Well, thank you so much. I mean, the time, where has it gone? We've just been talking about books. That is absolutely amazing. And we hope you listening to this, it's inspired you to go out and get reading. It's really important, isn't it, for our mental health as well. A little bit of a joyous escapism. And we hope we've given you some great tips.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Helen, for joining us. And so I don't know where the time has gone.
Thank you very much.
I really enjoyed it, and I've got quite a few books on my list. Good. I'm quite excited about reading.